The world has changed to a way where my growing up was always hidden. And then plus I was in the service. So when I was in the service, everything was t-shirt level, under the shirt, under the neckline. As I messed that up, went to prison, grew up, I'm running out of room. My neck and up came not as a fashion statement or as something cool to show the world. It came, all of this, it came because I ran out of room. So fingers, face, neck, ears, inside the ears, back of the ears. What do we got to do? Toes? Let's run it. Privates? Yep, privates are done too. My name is Mohawk Matt. I work for Stolen Clothing. I'm from Los Angeles, California. So I had a Mohawk for a while. I kind of went through growing up with the transition of the street life to the military life, to the jail life, to the back to normal society life. And as I got older, unfortunately it wasn't too old, my hair started thinning at a younger age. So I actually tattooed a Mohawk on my head. So I have a Mohawk tattooed on my head in Mohawk letters. So, and that's where it stuck. I was one of those kids that kind of watched too many Boyz in the Hood, New Jack City movies. I brought myself to trouble. I don't have the sob story that I grew up in the projects or the hood. I grew up in a pretty decent city and I found graffiti at a really young age. And in the early 90s, graffiti was a monster in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. Everything I ever wanted, this thing called graffiti made me free. And I was able to pick a name, join a couple crews, which are groups of guys, all with the same goal of just getting our names out there the most. We just took over the streets of the valley through Los Angeles. And that's where everything changed and started for me. One of my buddies had the bright idea and went and got his last name tattooed on him at some like biker tattoo shop in the city of North Hollywood in the San Fernando Valley. And he came back and just blew our minds, blew all of our minds with this little simple, his last name across in the center of his back. They're really tiny, a little smaller than you thought it would be for him showing up acting as tough as he did. It was about this big, but I never forget how cool that looked. I got my tagging crew right here across my forearm. I've since covered it up because, you know, life changes and you go different places. I think I felt like a few inches taller. I remember my backbone kind of straightened out. I remember I purposely would wear a tank top, a wife beater, so this would be shown and the one on my shoulder would be slightly shown through the side of that arch with the wife beater. And I remember I had this way to just walking. My shoulders got up a little bit higher and I just kind of walked a little tougher and square. And I made sure to, when I was in the car, like you could always see my shoulder when I was driving and stuff. It was just like a badge of honor. Oh, my parents were furious. My parents, didn't, let alone I get a tattoo of a graffiti crew that they attributed to being a gang. So they were not happy about that at all. Mind you, back then graffiti was extremely bad. It was extremely frowned upon. Cops were chasing you, gang members were shooting at you, business owners were attacking you. So just the graffiti aspect alone, my parents were already getting ready to, what's wrong with you? Get out of our house. Then on top of it, I tattooed a graffiti crew on me. Oh my God, it's over with. I went balls to the wall, getting all types of little knickknacks. You know, back then I didn't know how to like pick a sleeve or design. Today, these artists can do immaculate Mona Lisa type styles of artwork on sleeves and back. Back then it was all about, I got $50, what can we get? So it was like stamp, 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 stamp. There was no, this became a sleeve due to me continuing to slam pieces together. It wasn't planned out that way. Graffiti turned into a bad place for me. It eventually evolved, and if you know any of the LA history, graffiti merged with gangs throughout the 90s, and gangs became a different step on the evolutionary chain, even in regards to tattoos, because there's a whole history with gang tattoos that follows suit with tattoo lifestyle. The tagging crew tattoos evolved into more like gang tattoos, and those gang tattoos became more serious. They became things you have to earn, and jail came along in the process as well. As my behavior got worse with the transition from gangs to graffiti to gangs, you start going to the jail system, and then tattoo industry in the jail system, it's actually humongous. It's like, they don't give it enough credit because there's some fantastic artists in jail. Depending on the artist, you had like the pancake motors, which are flat out of CD players. We also had the old school tape cassette desk tattoo motors, which we call them Jolly Ranchers. Some of the most insanely intelligent people are in jail because to watch them accumulate old parts from electronic devices, to take the wires and the solder and to resolder all these wires together, and then to wrap them with a couple batteries taped together, wrapped around with some paper with the wires to the little guns they'd make with cut down pieces of big pens. It was just insanely intelligent. It's like an old school machine, the way they have it rigged up. And tattoos take longer. In my opinion, they hurt a lot less in prison because it's a single needle. They're slower, it takes longer. So the pain is less. Despite all the changes I've made, a lot of those friendships and those memories are important. I have some good friends that a lot of the country has the wrong perception about gangs. There's not a lot of positivity with it, but there is some stuff, and it's like going to war. So I have some friends I've made that I'm not gonna disrespect their memory by removing some things. I have them, they're kind of, what I've been smart enough to do is get rid of the ones that could be dangerous on the street. From prison to street, you accumulate tattoos that don't have the importance out here and they don't really belong out here. Those I've removed. The other ones I've kept are really important to me. But what I have gotten better at is working for Selling Clothing. I have the access to so many amazing people, artists, so many just great people that have helped me on this journey. And we just add stuff around things. So it's kind of like, it's not as prominent and standing out on my body. It's there in the background, just like my history will always be in the background. But these tattoos, I have so many good ones around these things to cover them up and blend them in to a background setting. So I had some stuff that had to go when I came home from prison, and we lasered my face, sides of my face. I did a couple other spots on my body. I lasered it down enough to where you could cover over it. I also lasered my privates. I had a tattoo on the tip of my, and I also had some along the length of it. And the process for that, I can tell you, is probably one of the most ungodly. They didn't have the medical advances they have now. None of the cream, none of the Novocaine shots would work. And they also had another nurse there with a bowl because I kept throwing up. The pain was so bad, I kept throwing up into the bowl. And you know, you could smell your skin burning, you could hear your hair follicles popping, and just watching your skin burn, and I just kept throwing up. But it just goes to how important for me those things had to go. I didn't give a hell what I had to go through, just like when I chose to get sober. Whatever you told me to do, I'm gonna do it to stay sober. I had some stuff that had to go, and it was whatever I gotta go through. Let's just hold the bowl, I'll throw up, let's get it gone. It's like being cleansed by fire. It's spiritual. I came home from prison. One of the tattoos I'll share with you, I had a big 666, huge. When I was in prison, I wanted to blame you. I wanted to blame everybody out there for what I did to go to jail. I didn't realize that it was just something dumb. I mean, I did it. Nobody made me do what I did. I did what I did, and I went to jail. I lost my military career. I have a medical honorable discharge. I was discharged with veteran status after a while in, but I wanted to blame you. I wanted to blame America for what happened to me, and I went back to committing crime. So I put this stamp on my neck to make sure that I would push you away from me. And believe me, something like that, it's the equivalent to some other evil, hateful symbol, because trust me, nobody wants to be around. Nobody liked to come near me with that big of a thing on me. And recently, I want to say about a year and a half ago, I got connected to my friend Chris out in North Hollywood. He helped me cover it up with a rose. And I swear to you, I can't tell this story so many times, it makes me happy. When he put that gun down after the third session and this was done, I felt something leave me. I felt like something pushed me. I literally felt something hit me, and like an energy force just leave me. And that 666 was covered, and I smiled, and I was just free. I felt free from after lasering off symbols, after lasering off dumb tattoos, that was like the last thing, and I felt a bunch leave, and I felt free. So yeah, some of them can keep people away from you. When I stepped away from the gang life and started to investigate stuff that was cool, so the gang tattoos, mind you, the ones I kept, I went from gang tattoos to Star Wars tattoos, to a Transformer tattoo, because once I changed from that type of lifestyle to where now I can just be Mohawk Matt, I don't have to be the gang guy, it's nice to be able to really get what I like. I've got a Starscream from Transformers because that was my favorite toy as a kid. You know, Star Wars, Boba Fett, I've got 2 Boba Fett tattoos. My Viking stuff, because that's in my history, so like that's important to me, it's my culture. I have some Viking in my history, Celtic, Scottish, Celtic, Welsh. I really started studying it when I went to jail and learned a little bit more about my history, and I love it. I love getting in the controversial arguments about it too, because it's so like, people think it's negative, and I'm like, okay, that's dumb. Like, study your history, and yeah. I've learned that like some of these symbols go back, because I've studied most of them, they go back way before we were even here. So many cultures have tattooed themselves, and these symbols carry weight, and when you're putting these symbols on your body, there's a definite meaning and a weight to them that you need to be aware of before you just randomly tattoo something on your body.
If you could go all the way back, would you do the journey the same way you did?
I have to say yeah, because I wouldn't be who I am right now if I didn't go through every single one of those damn things to get right here. Every one of them, even from the start. All the f***ed up shit, all the uncomfortable shit. I had to learn all of that to be right here, probably in front of you right now. And you never know. I believe in fate. You know, in Vikings, there's something we call the web of word. It's the matrix of fate, and everything we do is going to happen anyway. You might sidestep it, you might a little bit, but it's supposed to happen. So I think I had to go through all of that. So if I changed it, I don't know what could be different. I don't want to, right now, I don't want to change even a quarter of something. I'm really happy, so I don't want to alter it.